first we'll start with what is an analytic privilege. So if you see the definition over here, if you click on the analytic privilege below to the calculation view, analytic privileges is used to restrict access for read operations to certain data in analytic attribute and calculation views by filtering the attribute values and only applied at the processing time of the user query. Analytic privileges need to be defined and activated before they can be granted to users and roles. So if you see, the definition is a little long, but let us try to understand. Analytic privileges is used to restrict access. So basically, they're used to restrict access to certain data in analytic attribute and calculation views by filtering the attribute values. So what do we mean by filtering an attribute value? To certain data in analytic attribute and calculation views. So let us take one example to understand this. Let me take one example to understand this. Now, for example, let us say there are basically two users, user 1 and user 2. So you have two users. One is user 1. The second user is user 2. So let us assume user 1 is head of operations for USA region and user 2 is head of operations for Germany. Now user 1 should be able to see all the data related to USA and user 2 should be able to see all the data that is related to Germany. So now under user you have roles. Under user you have role. Now what is a role? A role is nothing but, when here the user 1, let's say he's an operational manager. So the role of user 1 is a manager. So he's basically a manager. Now what is a role? A role is nothing but it's a reusable object. You can reuse role and assign to multiple users. So you can assign role to multiple users, which is a reusable object. Now under role you have analytic privilege. Under roles we have analytic privilege. Now what is an analytic privilege? Now this user, who is user 1, should be able to only see data which is related to USA, or user 2 should be only able to see data related to Germany. Now in this case, now the data that we are talking about, USA or Germany, let us say they belong to a column called BUKRS, which is nothing but the company code ID or the company code name. So basically Germany or USA are the values. Germany or USA are the values inside the company code, which is say BUKRS. Let's say, for example, so these are the values inside the company code. And where do we build attribute? Where do we build master data? We build at the attribute views. We build at the attribute views. So inside the attribute view, you have a column called BUKRS. Now inside the column, you have values called USA and Germany. Now attribute views are basically which provides master data to facts which are quantity and amount related data. Like you have gross revenue. So whenever you join an attribute view with the fact table, this is known as an analytic view. We basically call this as an analytic view. Analytic views are nothing but OLAP cubes. They execute on OLAP engine, which are optimized for mass aggregation, and the query is parallelized. The query is executes parallelly, so it gives faster result. Now here you have an analytic view. Inside the analytic view, you have a dimension called company code. Inside this company code dimension, you have a column called BU cares. Inside this, now you want to restrict the value DE for whom? For the user. For the user 2. Now let's come back to the definition. Now what does it say here? Analytic privileges are used to restrict. What we are trying to restrict over here? We are trying to restrict the company code Germany for read operations to certain data. We are trying to restrict only to certain data. For user 2, we are trying to restrict for Germany. Now this value can come from attribute, analytic attribute, or a calculation view. By filtering the attribute value, you're trying to filter an attribute value. So when are you trying to filter this attribute value? Only applied at the processing time of user query. So when user 2 is trying to access data from an analytic view, when user 2 is trying to access data from an analytic view, he wants to see what are my company codes and what are the gross revenues. So user 2 is trying to ask a question, what are my company code and what is the gross revenue? So query is first checking this user 2 has access to all the company codes or to certain company codes. So basically checks now this user is only authorized to access company code Germany. So where do we basically restrict to certain data? So you try to restrict to certain data in the analytic privilege. So this is known as an analytic privilege. Analytic privilege is used to restrict to certain data. So we create analytic privileges, and analytic privileges are assigned to roles, and roles are assigned to users. And when user is accessing the data, he only able to see DE because we assign to analytic privileges. So let us see the step-by-step process of creating an analytic privilege. So again back to the definition. Only applied at the processing time of the user query. So what does it say? Analytic privileges need to be defined and activated before they can be granted to users and roles. So analytic privileges can be directly assigned to users and also can be directly assigned to roles. But always the best practice would be assigning analytic privilege to a role and assigning role to multiple users, because role is a reusable object. So let us go to content and let's create an analytic privilege. So let's go to our package ECC. Let's go to the package. And let me access any analytic view here. Let me check data for these analytic views. Right click on the analytic view, click data preview. So it throws an error. Let us reactivate. Right click on the analytic view, click on redeploy, click on redeploy, select the analytic view, right click and data preview, and click on raw data. So now let me click on distinct values and check for the company code BUKRS. How many company codes we have here? 1000, 3000, 2500, 2400. So in here, the user is HANA user. HANA user is able to access all the company codes. But what is my requirement? My requirement is user 2 should be only be able to access only one company code. That is, he should be able to see all the transaction data or all the gross revenues that belong to company code DE. And this should be only restricted at the runtime of the user query. So let me go back. Now who is going to decide what data should be accessed by what user? Now this will be decided by the business. Now on the business side, there is a compliance team who are known as governance risk compliance team. So this team will be responsible to design a matrix to see what users should be able to access what data. Based on that matrix, we start to create analytic privileges. So governance risk compliance team decides to see what users should be able to see what data. So based on that matrix, as a developer, I start creating analytic privileges. Let me go back to HANA Studio. Let us go to the package again. Now let me right click on the package, click new, click on the analytic privilege. Let me provide the name ANP underscore company code. I'm giving a technical name and let's provide the label and click finish. So once we click finish, now what are we trying to do? First we are trying to create an analytic privilege. So we are trying to create an analytic privilege. So what should we do now? Now this analytic privilege, now we need to indicate for this analytic privilege, what analytic view are we trying to use? So what analytic view we would like to use here? Let's go back. So restrictions apply to all the models shown in the below list below. So let me click add. Let us click add and then let us access ECC July 19. Let's go to ECC July 19. ECC. ECC July 19. So let us access this package and select the analytic view an copa underscore actual underscore data and click OK. So now we selected the analytic view. So the analytic privilege, we're trying to select this analytic view. So under analytic privilege, we assigned an analytic view. So for this analytic view, what attribute view? Company code attribute view. Under this what column? Under this what value? So let us do this. Let me go back. And under this analytic view, associated attributes restrictions. Click add. So what do you want to restrict to? So I think here we are using an analytic view where we have taken all the columns. So this one is not the right analytic view. We need to take a different analytic view, I think. Let me check over here. So this is the one which is data underscore HANA. So let us change. So this is the right one. So let me go back and change this. Now we are at the analytic privileges. Select remove this. Click add. So we are just changing the analytic view. ECC July. Expand the package. So let's select the analytic view, an copa actual data underscore HANA and click OK. So this is the analytic view. Now let us come back again and click add. Now when you add here, now it will ask us what is the attribute view you would like to select. I would like to select the attribute view AT underscore company code expand. Now under AT underscore company code, what column? The column is BUKRS. Double click. Now under this attribute view, this is the company code you want to restrict. And under this company code, what assign restrictions? Click add. Fixed equal to what restriction you would like to apply. I would like to apply for the company code 1000. Company code 1000 is nothing but Germany. Click OK. So we applied the company code restriction to 1000. Now in this step we created an analytic privilege. Now this is the technical name of the analytic privilege. Let me go back to Paint and so this is the analytic privilege we just created on this step number 1. So the step number 1 we created an analytic privilege by assigning what analytic view, what is the attribute view, what column and what value. So let us go back to HANA Studio and click validate and save and activate. So in the step number 1 we created an analytic privilege. Now when you assign this analytic privilege to a role and role to a user, then user should be only able to see company code 1000. Now let us go to part 2, the second step. In step number 2, so we completed analytic privilege. In step number 2, let us create roles. Now who is basically responsible to create users and create roles? Now this responsibility is taken care by HANA security. But because we would like to see end-to-end scenario, that's why I'm proceeding to create roles and users. So usually in real working project, when we work on the project, we are not going to create this, but to see end-to-end scenario, I'll create roles and also create users. So now I will log in as an admin user. I'll go back to HANA Studio. And as an administrator, I will log into admin user, add system, HANA server, instance 07, description SAP HANA, click next and provide the username HANA user and provide the password W capital welcome 1234. I'm sorry, let me provide the system user and click finish. Now I logged in as admin user, so I'll go to security folder, expand security folder, expand the security folder. Under security folder we see users and roles. So in the step number 2, what is that we have to create? We have to create a role. So let me go back to HANA Studio, right click and click new role. Let me click on new role. So once you click on new role, let me enter the role name. Let's say role underscore sales underscore manager. So now at the role, when we are creating a role, so you see several tabs like granted roles, part of role, system privileges, object privileges, analytic privileges, package privilege, application privileges. So all these are different tabs that you see. Now let me come back to Paint. Now first let us assign analytic privilege to a role. First let us do this step. Let us go back, click on the analytic privilege, click on the plus icon. So the analytic privilege I just created was ANP underscore so this is the analytic privilege. I'll just select this analytic privilege and click OK. So I assigned analytic privilege to a role. Now you see there is package privilege. Now what is a package privilege? Now you see this analytic view is in which package? The package name of the package is ECC July 19. So under this package we have a sub package called master data, and under master data you have this analytic view. Apart from this package you also have a lot of other packages. Now we see here, if you go to HANA Studio, if you expand content, you see there are a lot of packages. There are a lot of packages that you see here. Now, do you want to allow the user to see all the packages? If you want to allow, click on the plus icon, click on root. Just type in root. You see a root package, means it will allow all the packages. Now if you want to restrict to certain package, then let us type the package name ECC July 19. Now I want to restrict the user should only be able to see this package. He should not be able to see all the packages. He should be only able to see this package, which is ECC July 19. Select this and click OK. So once you click OK, now in here you see privileges for ECC July 19. You want to read the package, you want to edit objects under the package, you want to activate analytic views, and you want to maintain. So we are giving the privileges for the native packages. So by assigning all these things, you can edit, read, activate, and maintain all the information views that are associated under this package. So this is all taken care by the security guy, but for us it is good to know. So for a package, we are giving all these privileges. And in the analytic privilege, we assigned an analytic privilege. The third tab that you see here is an object privilege. Coming to the object privilege, whenever we activate these analytic views, as you know, they create a column view. And these column views are available at _sys_bi. And if you have time-based attribute views, _sys_bic, the column views are available _sys_bic, and the time-based attribute views are available at time-based tables are available at sys_bi. So we need to assign both these schemas, are also called as objects, because whenever you generate an analytic view creates a column view under the package BIC, and if this analytic view has any time related data, then the tables are under sys_bi. Let us go back to HANA Studio and then assign. Click on the plus icon, _sys_bi. So let us assign both these objects, bi and bic, _sys_bi and bic, and click OK. So once you select the schema, we need to have select privilege on the schema. So click select, execute. So you need to have an execute and select privilege, and also _sys_bic, execute and select privilege. So whatever the column views, we need to have a select privilege on these schemas. And all the repository objects are stored under a standard object called repository_rest. All the repositories stored under repository_rest. So this is a standard step. We need to select and click OK. And we need to have an execute privilege on repository_rest in order to access content objects. So once we have done object privilege, click on system privileges. At the system privileges, click on the plus icon. So there are different privileges that SAP has given. So all these are standard system privileges that SAP has given. So you can import, for a developer, you can import objects, you can export objects, you can import, you can export, and then you can create schema. So all these are standard system privileges that are provided by SAP. So for us, whatever are relevant, you can take. So in this case, I'll just take everything and click OK. So all these are standard system privileges that SAP has provided for license admin, log admin, for monitoring. So once done, finally click on execute, deploy. Now once you deploy, a role called jet role underscore sales manager is created. Let us copy this, and this is the role. Jet sales underscore manager is the role that we just created. And we also assign analytic privileges to this role. Now what is the next step? The role should be assigned to user. So for that we need to create a user. So once we create a user, we will assign user to the role. So let us go back. Right click on the user. Let's create a new user. Click on new user. And let us create a new user. User 2. Let me enter the password W capital welcome 1234. W capital welcome 1234. And in order to enable single sign-on, you have the administrator can have configuration to single sign-on to configure to SAP logon tickets, X509 or SAML or Kerberos. All these are single sign-on. So once we create a user, so let us assign the role over here. Click plus icon and select the role and click OK. So the role is assigned, and finally click execute. And click execute. So once you click execute, user 2 is created, and you see there is an additional role that is assigned to user 2, which is public role, which is a standard role that SAP provides, and this is our custom role. Now what is the next step? User 2 now will try to log into the system. So user 2 for the first time, he will add system, provide the host name, instance number, provide the description, click next, provide the username. What is the username? User 2, and provide the password welcome 1234, and click finish. So once you click finish, let us provide the old password and also provide the new password. Welcome 12345 is the new password. Welcome 12345, and click OK. Password for user 2 changed. Click OK, and user 2 got added. Now if you see, when we expand the catalog, so how many packages should the user 2 see? Only one package, because we only assign one package. But on the top, if you see HANA user will be able to see all the packages, because he has root and this user only has this package. If you expand the package, if you expand the sub package, if you expand and right click on the analytic views, right click on the analytic view, which is AN COPA actual underscore data underscore HANA. Right click, and click data preview. So once you click data preview, now let us click on distinct values and click view KRS. So how many values can we see now? Only the company code 1000. So only now what is basically when we execute the query, now you can see company code and company code related gross revenues. If you click on analysis, drag and drop the company code and view text and VV010. Now we are only able to see company code 1000. So that's what the definition says. Let's go back to the definition. Analytic privileges is used to restrict access to read operations to certain data in analytic, attribute and calculation views by filtering the attribute value, which is company code 1000, only applied at the processing time of the user query. Analytic privileges need to be defined and activated before they can be granted to users and roles. So finally, once you execute the analytic view and user 2 is trying to see data, is only able to see user 2 is only able to see the company code DE and its transaction data. Now in case if user want to see additional data, in such a case we can go back to content, expand the package, sub package, you also want to assign any additional privileges, click add, also assign 2000 or 2200 or 2400, click OK and validate and execute. Let us go back again to user 2, right click on the analytic view and data preview. This time we should be able to see 1000 as well as 2400. So click on distinct values, click on view KRS, and this time we should be able to see both these values. So by using analytic privileges, you can restrict to certain data at the time of user query. Now especially the advantage of analytic privileges is it limits the data that is transferred to the client application. Now we usually, if you see, the privileges are defined at the application layer, but now we are defining the privileges at the database layer to take advantage of minimizing the data transfer to the next layer. Now this is only possible when you create information views. Analytic privileges cannot be defined on tables. They can only be defined on information views. If you have any questions on this, please let me know. Please ask me. Anyone have any questions on this?